Hello, friends. We are going to be going into Second Kings chapter 4. We already have people watching. So we have Olson is saying, I have a son and I like stew. Count me in. Yeah, maybe hopefully we get to the stew story. I really hope we do. Um, Yay, Cassandra, good to see you. Okay, I'm posting the link. You have 5 minutes to get out. You don't need a Bible. I'm going to be sharing the Bible. You could be reading in Hebrew, like some fancy pantses on this channel sometimes do, and then you can tell us directly what the translation is. But you don't have to. You could just trust me, or trust the people at the English Standard Version of. Look, guys, 5 minutes. Okay, 5 minutes. I'll see you soon. Hello, friends. How's everyone doing? Oh, what does that mean?
It's
Been a
been a
week?
week. It's been a week. My car is in the shop, and life is 100 times more challenging than it was a week ago.
I don't think I knew you had a car. You seem like the kind of guy that might operate separate from vehicles.
I, I very often seem like the kind of guy that I am not. I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
It's
That's
a lot of
interesting.
ways. I don't know. I have a very not counterfeit vibe, but I don't know. I like surprises, so I guess I like surprising people.
Part of my thing is I try to not interrupt people uh, when they're describing who they think I am, because I want to know I want to know that information. So when we went to Midwestuary, Neil explained me to a couple of people, and I was like, "This is interesting," because it's not everyone's understanding of me. It's yeah.
Oh no, like there are multiple me's. So when I meet somebody who I've not met before, like, oh, we've heard so much about you, I'm like, which one? Because Balloon Matt is very different from like Bible study Matt or teacher Matt, and it's
I like this. Grim is saying, I like these three guys. Someone grab a timestamp for tomorrow. Cassandra says, you heard the general. Yeah. This is great. Great. Yoav, I still have not seen you. Do you ever come to this continent? To the new world, as they say?
Well, I used to quite a lot. I used to have a lot of business. Used to come at least once a year.
Okay.
I'm rapidly approaching retirement,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm really not interested in anything related to work anymore.
Okay.
Now it's up to the wife to plan a vacation in the US, but the world is big. So many places we still haven't seen. And we've done the States one with the kids. The West, Yellowstone.
Oh, okay. Wow. Very cool.
And I used to do a lot of East Coast when I was working there.
Mm-hmm.
When Boston was a high-tech mecca, I wrote 128, was it?
Yeah. I don't even know how I would sell my area to get you anywhere near me.
Canada?
Yeah.
We've been to the Canadian Rockies with the kids.
Oh, that's very nice. That is so far away from me, but it is very nice. It's much nicer than where I am.
Where are you in Canada?
I'm in Ontario. And I'm
fine.
Yeah, I'm not far from the border. We'll just say that. I mean, it's 3 hours away, but not.
Yeah,
crazy.
I've been around there, the Niagara waterfalls again with the kids, and I had a bit of work meetings. I'm old. I've done a lot.
Yeah. That's even closer to me.
And I don't want to do any more of it.
Yeah. Ooh, I like this image of you again. The pretend version of you that you are floating everywhere like enough.
I don't deal with helium though. Those tanks are so heavy.
Yeah, I can imagine. Okay, guys, let's get into the Bible story. This one, man, does this cover a bunch of different topics, which is exactly what makes things fascinating for me.
Different topics. I mean, I enjoyed it when it was high politics and wars and kings and generals. The minor stuff, let's see.
just story it. I guess that makes sense. Everyone has their bits of interest. Some people like the battles. Okay. Here we are. Matt, you appear to be home.
Yes.
Are you actually home?
Hard to go places without a car.
Last time I said home, it turned out. Yeah. At one point, I thought you were at home, and it turned out. At one point, I thought you were home, but you were actually in a library. So, okay, that seems right. Who's asking about
Hello, can I read?
Kirk, it is good to see you. Matt is reading first because I already said so. You can read.
Oh, right. Let me screen up here. Okay, all right. So now the wife of one of the sons of the prophets cried to Elisha, "Your servant, my husband, is dead, and you know that your servant feared Hashem. But the creditor has come to take my 2 children to be his slaves." And Elisha said to her, "What shall I do for you? Tell me, what have you in the house?" And she said, "Your servant has nothing in the house except a jar of oil." And he said, "Go outside, borrow vessels from all your neighbors, empty vessels and not too few. Then go in and shut the door behind yourself and your sons, and pour into all these vessels. And when one is full, set it aside." And so she went from him and
Sorry. Yeah.
Oh.
So she.
went from him and shut the door behind herself and her sons. And as she poured, they brought the vessels to her. When the vessels were full, she said to her son, "Bring me another vessel." And she said to her, "There is not another." Then the oil stopped flowing. She came and told the man of God, and he said, "Go sell the oil and pay your debts, and you and your sons can live on the rest."
Okay, some thoughts on this little. First off, Yoav, do you find this interesting? Is this just boring to you? Because no nations are going to war with nations.
Well, in order to make it interesting for me, I would wonder, does it connect to any previous story? I mean, we had lots of sons of prophets in the previous story. Maybe that is one of the sons of prophets that appear earlier in the story. And if we are sticking to, stretching the term children in the previous chapters to mean one of the sons of the prophets, maybe Elisha has something to do with its death, and maybe he's morally obliged to do something about it. That's
interesting.
That's one. Second, it teaches me the price of oil. If for so much oil you can pay your debt and live for a while, it means that olive oil was quite expensive at the time.
Yeah, we get this idea that it's during a time of famine. Do you, Yoav? I know some Middle Easterns do. I know Maltese, which is my background, and Italians will do it, where they don't just use oil for cooking oil. It is the meal. You'll just have bread and dip it in oil as the whole thing. So if you're lucky, you get a little bit of balsamic vinegar. Like in a good Italian restaurant, always put oil and wine or vinegar in front of you. Do you guys do that?
The poor would have basically pita bread and oil and some herbs and onions.
Yeah. In Malta, the basic sandwich is called a hubs bizet, and it literally translates to just oil on bread. And you put other things on it, but
that's my point. If olive oil is the common food, is the poor man's staple, how come it was so expensive then? It means the economy was quite different than it was already in the Second Temple.
Okay. Yosef, you came in while reading was occurring. Welcome, friend. Do you have any thoughts on this first little introduction bit?
Well, sure. So it clearly connects to the story of Eliyahu and the woman of Zarephath, who's outside of Sidon. Like in the previous chapter, they want him to be Eliyahu-like, and he is being Eliyahu-like.
That's right.
But it is also interesting that this. So, did this son of the Nevi'im, did he die in the war that we just talked about? How is his death connected? Like, is there any responsibility? Because we know for Eliyahu, the reason the woman in Sarepha needed stuff was because he caused the drought, a regional drought, right? Like that was the whole thing. So is there a link where Elisha is somehow responsible, indirectly at least, for this death? Is something I'm wondering. I don't think this is a time of drought necessarily. I think it's just economic hardship. They had this war. I also think there's this weird. I don't know how you guys in the end. I wasn't there last week. I didn't listen to the episode. I have a very different reading than most of the end of the previous chapter, which is the firstborn that's taken and killed by the king of Moab is the son of the king of Edom, not the king of Moab's son. The text is ambiguous, but we do know of the people would like kings to ensure that other kings wouldn't go against them and would have if you didn't really trust your ally, and then you would have their children as like we know this from as like you would have their children as captives and you would kill them if need be if you were betrayed. And it also makes much more sense that like that's why they gave up the battle. It doesn't make sense that he killed his son so they gave the battle. They gave up the battle because he killed the successor and next king, the prince regent of Edom, which is a very, very different reading. It's also like why whatever. But we don't have to go to last chapter. I don't want to like rehash, though I'm sure you'll love the excitement of rereading into that chapter again. But here it's also about the potential death or taking away of the sons, right? So it's a very interesting thing, right? Where I think there is a contrast or something happened. Whether you think it's the king of Moab's son or whether you think it's the king of Edom's son, something is happening here. That is just fascinating to me. Where they yet more sons are now kind of at risk, and he's going to have to save them. He's going to be Eliyahu-like. There's also this funky thing where last time, so Eliyahu saved them with the same miracle, but with flour, if I remember. And now it's with oil. Of course, I always think about Stregonona because the Stregonona story is kind of like based, like when she keeps making the pasta that never stops out of the pot.
Yeah. I love that.
But these are the like for me when I think about flour and oil and like in a biblical context, it's specifically for making the mincha offering, which is like kind of a bread or wafer or whatever offering. And there seem to be something like mincha is also, even though it's normally not what it's called for an animal offering, that is what Eliyahu calls his offering on Carmel. It's at the time of the mincha. It's literally how it's kind of the story is framed. So there is this very interesting thing going on with this offering or with this specific framing, because it's not just like a sacrifice. It's a very specific type of sacrifice. It's one of the few. If you like, you bring it for lots of things. Like it accompanies up. Like it's the carb right that comes along with the meat offering in many cases. For the priest, but also when it's offered on its own, it is offered on its own a couple times. The high priest brings a mincha offering every day. It's offered every Sabbath as the loaves, right, as a special type of bread offering, the 12 loaves. But the one that this makes you think about the most is that when you can't afford to bring a sin offering, which is for an unintentional sin, right, but you can't afford to bring it, to bring a large mammal, right? Then you can bring birds. If you can't afford to bring the birds, then you bring just a mincha, a plain mincha offering. So like without incense. Usually the mincha has incense also, or specifically not incense, but which one? Not myrrh. The other one. Wow, how would you say it in English? Levona. I can't remember how to say it in English. Okay, it'll bother me. But you bring it without incense, and that's what this is. So maybe this is something like his way of bringing this offering of the poor for a sacrifice of a sin that came out of his negligence, sort of.
It's interesting.
But he's providing it, right? Anyway, another bunch of random thoughts.
That's very interesting because the last chapter, it specifies that when they listen to Elisha about the coming of the water, it says it's at the time of the morning sacrifice. So it again it's framing the timing based on those things. I really like the tying in with Elisha, which is I think quite clear, and it's very important. You had even said this.
Sorry, frankincense is the right word. Thank you, Brent. But it's not oil. You have to bring the frankincense as not crystals, but like in chunks. You can't
Yeah,
it
yeah,
has to be pure frankincense. Grains, that's the word. Grains.
In this section, I believe you had mentioned when we were talking about the previous Eliyahu story, it does seem quite obvious to me that the New Testament writers liked this chapter a lot. They use it a bunch. There's a bunch of the feeding of the 5,000 in this. When Jesus is speaking about the role the Gentiles are going to play, he specifically uses this story and the next chapter to talk about the role that the Gentiles play in God's story.
There's also
go ahead.
The borrowing of the vessels is very reminiscent of the borrowing of the vessels in Egypt.
Right? Say more about that.
Oh, I mean, right? The Jews borrow, quote unquote, right? The gold and silver vessels and clothing, from the Egyptians. The Egyptians let them borrow. I mean, they give it to them. They don't. It is not stolen. It seems to not be coerced. There is this weird story about, later about the Egyptians like trying to sue them for getting their stuff back, and also another story where the Jews actually lose the stuff because they said they were going to borrow it and they never returned it. But either way, neither of those is exactly connected. But yeah, this sounds a lot like a lot like the borrowing of the vessels from your neighbors, and especially borrowing it for oil, because in the Midrash, at least, the Jews are like, the reason the Egyptians are okay with giving the Jews the stuff in part is because when the Egyptians had darkness and the Jews had light, the Jews didn't use that to steal the property of the Egyptians, even though they could have. And they didn't exact revenge, and instead they actually helped the Egyptians in the darkness survive the darkness. So the Egyptians give them the stuff out of indebtedness, but it's like the connection between light and darkness and oil in poverty, and especially oil and light, right, are connected because these are oil lamps. Right, that's the other thing. We think about oil as food, but the primary use of oil in this period is not food, right? It's the power source. It is for lamplight. It is also for like lubrication, for like kind of machinery to some degree. For very basic things. It's also used for treating leather and treating wood so that it lasts longer, right? We have in the eulogy for David, when he says they have the shields haven't been treated at the death of Jonathan, and they'll snap. Like, right, the oils are so important to this economy and to function in the world.
And as not a cleaning agent, but something for the skin and for like the faces of animals as well, like to treat. From what I understand, shepherds would put it on the face of their sheep for like infections and stuff like that, and
there is also this weird thing with the doors. It came up earlier. I haven't really studied it, but there's like a whole thing with doing things behind doors. We're gonna have the prophets get really annoyed by Jews doing idol worship behind doors, and like Isaiah and Jeremiah. But here in the earlier Elisha story, the door thing comes up a bunch. Sort of like the window thing coming up a couple weeks ago. Of course, like this isn't a royal door or whatever. Everyone has doors, but
no, that's coming up later in this chapter. The healing behind the door.
Yeah, we get some weird. Yeah, we'll see. Keep hearing.
But also, sorry, just to connect it as well, the later bits, the resurrection of the child, is definitely also used in the resurrection of Lazarus as an image of that, where the person requesting the healing is actually quite upset about the matter. They're angry with the person.
This is to my point that I made 3 weeks ago, that if Elijah is John, Elisha is Jesus, and the New Testament writers use that. And just in the last chapter too, where normally we don't destroy fruit trees. It's a commandment that you're not allowed to do. And it always bothered me that Jesus did that. And then I realized, well, actually Elisha does that. He's the only other example you have of that. And that fits into this pattern of Jesus being Elisha-like. And he's the one who, and that's just weird because like no one thinks Elisha is Messiah. but because Eliyahu both comes before Elisha and then in Midrash, like becomes before the Messiah, like Jesus kind of ends up being both, right? He has to be like an Elisha-like Messiah. Which
Well,
is
by that time, Elijah is one of the four craftsmen.
Yes.
Right.
Oh, well, not according to Jewish stuff, but yes, according to the New Testament. Yeah.
No,
Sorry,
no,
I couldn't say that. Not according to the Pharisaic tradition, but according to the
that's
Jewish
right.
Christian. There you go.
No, but not just Jewish Christian. The sources that I'm talking about are Second Temple. The Dead Sea Scroll.
There's no other source that uses four craftsmen in Second Temple period. The DDS doesn't use it that. Right? The Dead Sea Scrolls does not. It has a 2 and a 3 Messiah kind of like model. It never has a 4 Messiah model. They don't have the four craftsmen. They reject it actually, which is one of the issues. And it's not clear to me that the Christians have it either.
Okay.
I mean,
does anyone else have any other ideas? I don't want to get into it right now. But there, yeah.
Who is the Christian Gehazi? Is that Judas? That's the question.
That's a that's a very good question. Okay, the four. Sorry, I know. Whatever. This is. I could do more work. In the Talmud, the four craftsmen are discussed in Babylonian Talmud Suk 52b Rav Hannah Bar Bizna attributed it to Simon Hasidah and identified the four craftsmen as Messiah ben David, Messiah ben Joseph, Eliyahu, and the righteous prince. So
we can talk about it more later.
Okay, but do you disagree with this statement?
It's sort of. We can talk about it.
Okay. Either way, around that time, there was an idea kicking around that
300 years later, but yes.
At least. Okay. All right. That's fine. Sure. Okay. Other people. Yoav, thoughts? Actually, Matt hasn't said anything really. Matt, do you have any thoughts on just this intro to the oil miracle?
I mean, not especially, other than my first thought is just going to manna. Again, like miraculous provision in the midst of scarcity.
That's good. You got the children almost becoming slaves, so that's
It's we would like save us from going back to Egypt, please.
Yeah. That's good.
Is there there's no geographical marker here, right? Because I know in the Elijah story, it makes a point of the fact that he leaves the land and goes up north to Sidon. But it seems more just like
that's because there's a drought, but there's no drought here. That's not why this is happening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it doesn't tell us. No. We know the next story is going to be with a Shunammite. That's the best we got.
Yeah. Where's Shunam?
Grim, we can't right now, Grim. We can't, okay? I'm sorry. Sorry, my friend, we can't. Yoav. Yoav. Do you have anything that you want to add before we continue on?
No, not at the moment. But about the location, my first guess would be when we had last seen 50 sons of prophet. Where was it? Bethel?
Yeah, that was one of them.
So, I mean, unless every city would have 50 sons of prophet, and then it really explains why you cannot get a proper job as a son of prophet if there's so many of them.
The first time I read this, I had no understanding of the fact that the sons of the prophets was like a position, and just actually thought that this was either Elisha or Elijah's child.
All 150 of them?
You know what? There's more absurd things that have happened.
That's fair. That's fair.
Can you explain what is Grim-Grease wanting? I mean, we're not going to dwell with it, but I just don't understand what he wants.
There's these very common conspiracy videos about the Talmud. There's also plenty of debunking ones of these, exactly what he's talking about, but of statements that have been taken out of the context of the Talmud and translated weirdly, generally, and not, and they've been fed into the kind of conspiracy machine, and he wants us to debunk them at some point, or not debunk them. Probably he doesn't want us to debunk them. It's grim. He wants us to address them, but it has been done many times before. If you want me to send you links, I can. I think Jacob actually has a video about it already. But yeah, if you want to have a new discussion about it, I guess.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Kirk, you have been waiting so patiently. Such a gentleman you are, Kirk. Will you...
Yeah, I try to be a good boy.
Okay, would you read for us, please?
One day Elisha went to Shunem, where a wealthy woman lived, who urged him to eat some food. So whenever he passed away, he would turn in there to eat food. And she said to her husband, "Behold now, I know that this is a holy man of God who is continually passing our way. Let us make a small room on the roof with walls and put there for him a bed, a table, a chair, and a lamp, so that whenever he comes to us, he can go in there."
That's so nice. That's so nice. They make him a little... They give him a little side room. A little mini home?
Profit trap. They're trying to get him to stay specifically at their house so they can eke out all of the benefits that come from association.
It seems like that. I don't know. There's something in this that feels flirtatious to me. That's probably incorrect.
No, I don't see that.
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I said it's incorrect.
Yeah. But notice the connection to the Transfiguration there and building little booths for people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the making of a booth, without a doubt. Do you think this is tied at all to Sukkot? Do you think there's anything to that?
This is not tied at all to Sukkot. I think the Transfiguration is, but I think the Transfiguration is taking that and taking this, because it's making a booth and filling it with light. And, you know.
Okay. Yeah.
They're playing with the two images and throwing them together.
Okay.
This answers the question we had so many months ago about furniture.
Mm-hmm.
I doubted whether the ancient Hebrew house would actually have a bed and a chair and a table. But it seems that the rich people really had a table and a chair.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a surprise to me, but here it is.
That's good. The jumping from the story of one woman to another, I think, is interesting as well. There's something about that. I don't know what the link is.
It's a sample, because we had a poor woman, and now we're dealing with a rich woman. I think it's just sampling the population.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's
This
also
is interesting. Like, tragedy comes to both classes, but in different ways.
Yeah, that's good. This is also a common story. I'm sure the Orthodox would jump all over this. The idea that it's the woman who first notices. The husband is just kind of playing along to what the wife is initially saying. She's the one who brings him in and says, "We got to set something up for this guy."
No, it's the same thing.
Wait.
It's the wife of Manoach and Judges. We've had it before in the Bible.
Yep.
Just to clarify, when you say Orthodox, you mean Orthodox Christians, not Orthodox Jewish people, right?
Yeah. Though they're very big on this idea of God like the female is set to the frame that the masculine operates within. That's something that
Well-
people like Pajot talk about a lot.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Yusuf, but isn't there an idea in Kabbalah of like the divine feminine, like the Shekhinah, or am I misunderstanding this?
I mean, there is, but it's not connected to this point.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
a different.
Though, I mean, there is a general idea that in Judaism, even outside of Kabbalah, that women are more spiritually attuned. So yeah,
Yeah.
she's like, and women are going to turn to God faster and look for prophet. Like, yeah, so that, like, look for prophecy. It's also like why the kind of generally culturally there's this thought that they will fall to witchcraft more, like because they do seek spirituality more. So it's kind of
there.
Achilles heel.
It was explained to me. Tell me if I'm not if I am correct. But there's a couple of commandments that are binding on men that aren't binding on women, and so the question is, well, why do men have to do this? Like, why with the what's it called, the tefillin and stuff like that? And the explanation was, well, men have to do this in order to be facing towards God, whereas women are already in that position, sort of a thing.
That is one explanation. It's not my favorite, but
Not your favorite. I'd love to know your favorite now.
That's a long discussion. There's a lot of reasons that have been given. I think most of them are post hoc.
Okay. Either way, a bed and a place to study for the prophet, or write. Maybe write. It's talked about prophecy as maybe a form, like expressed as poetic.
We don't really hear about prophets writing their own stuff down until Isaiah's school, and even then, like Jeremiah is really the first explicitly to say it.
Yeah.
It's a little early.
Table, chair, and lamp.
Yeah.
Is it an eating table? Is it? I don't know. Interesting.
Yeah, why not? They eat at tables in the Book of Ruth. I don't understand why that would be different. And God has a table, obviously, and yeah, like tables are part of the culture.
Okay, cool. Okay, Kirk, will you? You finish this part of the story. I'll get Matt to start reading in a second.
Okay. One day he came there, and he turned into the chamber and rested there. And he said to Gehazi, his servant, call the Shunammite. When he had called her, she stood before him, and he said to him, so say now to her, see, you have taken all this trouble for us. What is to be done for you? Would you have a word spoken on your behalf to the king or to the commander of the army? She answered, I dwell among my own people. And he said, what then is to be done for her? Gehazi answered, well, she has no son, and her husband is old. He said, call her. And when he had called her, she stood in the doorway, and he had said, at this season, about this time next year, you shall embrace a son. And she said, no, my lord, O man of God, do not lie to your servant. But the woman conceived, and she bore a son about that time, the following spring, as Elisha had said to her.
That sounds like Yitzhak, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Even the mocking.
And standing in the doorway, and this is super. This is exactly like the Isaac story, or the Sarah story about hearing that she's going to have a kid.
That's right.
Except it's not the husband being told; it's the prophet telling the wife directly.
It's the prophet telling the wife directly.
It's a huge difference. But there's also some fun wordplay going on in verse 13 in the Hebrew. So it's how did your translation have it? It's weird. This trouble for us. But in Hebrew, so the word is charada, which is playing. Earlier we had the word cheder, which is she's making him a room. So they've transposed two letters that almost look exactly the same. But charada is usually like trembling or fear. So it's a very funky usage here. Like, why have you've like made yourself tremble upon us, or for our behalf, and why have you gone through like all this trembling, which is a very different read than why are you going through all this trouble, to me at least. It's much more emotional, like why are you why are you so emotionally invested in this, but in kind of a like it doesn't read to me as like what's your game here, woman? Right? It's not. It doesn't feel in the Hebrew. It doesn't feel as kind of quid pro quo utilitarian. Like there's definitely this play on like emotion that's very clear there that we don't have on the other side. And there's also this funky thing going on where like the word for like small is also the word for child, right? So she's making him a small room, and we're gonna get that. We kind of get this like there's a little bit of play, but I don't think they actually call the boy here a katan. But in the other story, they call him a katan. So I'm wondering in the Eliyahu story. That's interesting.
As soon as you said like the word small is the same for like the room, I just immediately pictured like a little race car bed in Elijah's little hut up there.
Yeah, there you go.
Nice. This, I do feel that this goes back to something that that Dawn was saying before. The rich woman wants something she can't buy, but it's interesting because she doesn't even ask.
Nope,
she doesn't even
ask.
Yeah, it's just noted she doesn't have a child.
She doesn't believe him. She tells him, "Don't say things you can't follow up with." Right? Like it's not like
it doesn't seem to be her introducing the idea.
I don't even think that she thinks that he can do it. I think like he does it, and then she's a good person.
And I believe later on in the passage, once she loses him, she gets upset. Like, I didn't ask for this. Why are you going to give this to me just to take it away again?
Yeah.
Right. It's all good. Yeah. Oh, Don. Oh, this is just a stab to the heart. At some point, it's easier not to even hope for it. Wow. Okay, I think this might be why who is the daddy? Like there is the prophet turning aside, he has his little kind of room, and by the time I come back here in a year, you're gonna have a little one with you.
Well, that depends on the understanding of the term Ke'et Chaya. I always understood it to be within exactly a year. So if a year passes till the baby is born, it's not anybody present in the room at the moment. But I see that the English translation means next spring, which also makes sense in Hebrew. Then it could be somebody in the room.
Yeah, because Ke'ed Chaya is also just a direct quote from Breshit in the Sarah story, right? So like whether it's literal or whether you're intentionally referencing, that's also part of it.
Yeah, but what does it mean there? Exactly 1 year or in the spring?
I also, we got to mention the introduction of the character Gehazi. Gehazi is a fascinating character who the Midrash makes much out of because the text does little with, but it's so crucial, the bits that he does. So he's right now the in-between.
What does the word Gehazi mean? Usually in the Bible, names have meanings.
Yeah, the Valley of Visions. Gehazi. Right? The Gehazi.
Okay. So you have to say Gehazi. Okay.
When this is perfect, right? Because this is when we were talking about all the valleys and things where they're looking for Eliyahu, like the whole thing we had earlier. And Gehazi is literally the valley of the vision, right?
The question was Gehazi gay.
Doesn't he try to get a woman later in the Naaman story? There's some weird stuff in the Naaman story I have to remember. There is another reading which says it's not chazi like chozeh, but chazi like to grasp, right? That he's trying to grasp things, but that's based on the story in the next chapter. It's also funny because we were talking about how Elisha and Jesus are compared in the New Testament, but in the Talmud it's Gehazi and Jesus that are compared, right? That they're both people that were dealt with too harshly, and if they hadn't been pushed out, things would have gone better for them and for the Jews, right? Like they're That's kind of another interesting little twist to all this story.
It's an interesting perspective. Okay, I want to get to the really cool part of this story, because the story has not been cool enough. I do want to plant something in people's minds because it's always in my mind when I read this chapter. Half the people here will know what this is. Matt, you may not know what the Haftorah is. Haftorah, some of why it starts might be legendary, namely that there's like a period of time where the Jews are not allowed to study Torah. So instead of studying Torah, what you do is you break down how to read the Torah in a year. And what you do with the Haftorah is if you weren't allowed to read Torah, you had a different section of scripture which you could read that would remind you of the story which you're not allowed to read. And no, is that...
It's a popular myth.
It's a popular myth. That's how I open.
It's not really why the Haftorah starts, and they clearly are reading it at the time of Jesus. That to me is clearly not what is happening. No, but it is a portion from the section of the Bible that we call the prophets. Which includes, unlike let's say the Christian breakdown, the prophets includes the histories and the prophets, right? So includes Kings and Samuel and Judges, Joshua, and then also Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, the 12 minor ones. And it's a selection from there that, it's usually on theme with, or at least somehow connected to the Torah reading, though not always, because sometimes it's connected to the holiday or to something like the time of year. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff. So, and in fact, it seems like that was the original Haftorah, was not that it was connected to the Torah portion, but it was connected to the liturgical calendar, which is...
And to me, why I think it continues to be valuable is not just for liturgical purposes, but that image that a lot of people have seen where the Bible is making connections between certain stories, and every now and then even earlier today on this chapter we talked about how there's bits in this chapter that are used in other places. The Haftorah shows us a very old version of people understanding one passage through another passage, right? Understanding the prophets through the Torah would be something that I think it illustrates.
I can. And so, but to your point, so this is a Haftorah reading that we do. I mean,
yes, for the binding of Isaac.
The binding of Isaac. That's right.
So the binding so it's very interesting because we already made the parallels to this kid's birth being a link to the birth of Isaac, and there becomes a conversation within rabbinic Judaism. Actually, it's the longest conversation. The binding of Isaac has a lot written on it, and I think this story is part of where. The story that we're talking about is part of where some of those ideas come from.
Well, so the first part of the chapter we do read for Isaac's birth, and the second part we read for the binding. So we actually do have both parts. We don't read this chapter as one because it's not one chapter in Hebrew. It is two separate.
Right.
A comment. We passed too quickly about the conversation. Elisha is asking her, do you want me to introduce you to the king or to the minister of defense? And she answers, within my people I am sitting. And in Hebrew, she is not described as a rich woman, but as a big woman.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the story she is aristocratic. She's
a woman of substance, we might say. Yeah.
Of blue blood. Circumstances have brought her to Shunem. And first assumption is that she wants to go back to politics, to go back to the life of the palace. And she says, no, I'm content being one of the common folks.
Yeah, and there's an implication that she is considerably younger than her husband, so she might have been of a wealthier family, but then made to, like, whatever, for whatever reason, we don't know, but she had to marry this older guy. And maybe maybe she didn't want to because she realized that they would have trouble having kids. I don't know, but like there does seem to be some tension here on like who is this woman. If we remember later, sorry, not later, much earlier, the Shunammite is a big deal in the David story, right? Like what is a Shunammite? Who is a Shunammite? Like there, she's the young woman that they find for the old man, who refuses to sleep with her. Right, so actually we have, whether you believe that piece or not, whether you believe he slept with her or not, like here, this actually seems to reinforce the idea that he didn't, and that this is the same type of woman who is kind of plucked out of one context, thrown in another. There, it's the opposite, where she's put in the royal house. But again, you have this young, old, and not having kids, not sleeping together, sort of story going on.
Yeah, but women usually marry up. It's an unusual circumstances that she landed there with the old man.
Yeah, but there's a lot of instability. The royal palace of the Northern Kingdom is very unstable. Shunem's north, right? It's by the Israel Valley. So she might have been from the previous dynasty. Like there's no reason, like they do marry up. There's no reason to think that she was in good circumstances.
Exactly. So I'm thinking that there is I'm sorry that I'm always looking at the politics.
No, that makes sense.
I think there's a lot of politics behind this story that is not told.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're right. Yeah, that
it's
idea.
It's going to be super important for the next section with the Naaman. This is very important because we're going to have the same pattern where we have a Sar Tzava, right? He is the head of the army. There is someone who wants access to him. We have a lot of these same words, and like she says, like don't mock your maidservant. The maidservant in the next story, which is a little girl, like an actual little girl, is going to be very important. She's in fact contrasted because in this story we have the Isha Gedolah, and there we have Na'ara Ketana. Right, we're going to have this very strong contrast between the little girl and the big woman, but they're both see themselves as mere maidservants who don't want to speak up and have to be pushed to. And to be specifically pushed to like talk and then ask, so they want to talk to the head of the army, right? They have that same exact thing going on.
Oh, that's interesting too, because Naaman is upset that only Gehazi comes out. He's like, I thought the prophet was going to come over and like wave his hands or something. Like, I came all this way. He didn't even do like extend his hand and say a blessing or anything.
Yeah, and here it's going to be sort of the opposite, right? Where like Gehazi, like he almost gets like rushed by. Like he's there to kind of like he goes ahead of the prophet to like find out what's going on, but like he doesn't actually find out what's going on, and like the prophet like basically beats him to the punch, and like this woman, like and her son, right? He doesn't even know that yet, but like he knows to care about her, and like shows her that, but then he doesn't. And we can talk about it in the next chapter. Why he doesn't do it with Naaman's really important because he wants to take him down a peg and humble him. That's a whole part of the story. Doesn't need to happen in this story. It's not a woman that needs humbling. Even though she is an Isha Gedolah, she's already been humbled in many ways. And she needs to be made to feel greater again. She has to be restored. Whereas he needs to be brought down, right? So there's this contrast.
Well, let's get to the story that we are talking about.
Are we gonna really be able to cover it today? Oh man,
I don't know, man. Yeah, we're getting there.
We haven't even finished this story yet. We have to finish this story first.
Okay, all right. Wait, what do you mean? Do you mean talking about the resurrection story, or you want to plant here? I respect you.
No. Finish the resurrection story. I think we probably stop at the end of the resurrection story. Though. Yeah. I don't think you have time to get everything.
Well, the other one takes 2 seconds. It's about stew that tastes like death. I love this. Thank you. I'm back to work. I'll still be listening, but the chat will be devoid of my keen wit. Love it. Okay, go ahead, Matt. This is you now.
All right. When the child had grown, he went out one day to his father among the reapers. And he said to his father, "Oh, my head, my head." And the father said to his servant,
I just
carry
love
him to his mother.
Sorry. Okay. Are you intending for this to be hilarious?
Just give it a little extra oomph.
Oh, I love this. Like Keenwood emerges. But then he just walks out. It's just like, oh, daddy, my head hurts. And the kid's just like, take him to his mom.
She's already showed herself to be the real force in this family anyway. She knows what's
it's
up.
so interesting.
All right. And when he lifted him and brought
Among,
him to his mother.
Sorry. Grimm wants reference to Among the Reapers because of his love of the Reapers. Yeah.
I thought that was a very curious phrasing as well.
Well, it's an actual reference to the Ruth story. Like we'll talk about that, right? But that is the other time this phrase is used exactly.
Yeah.
To go out among
Tables
the
and
reapers.
reapers.
Yeah.
All right. And when he lifted him up.
Yeah, go from and when he lifted him.
Oh, all right. And when he had lifted him and brought him to his mother, the child sat on her lap till noon, and then he died. And she went up and laid him on the bed of the man of God, and shut the door behind him and went out. Then she called to her husband and said, send me one of the servants and one of the donkeys, that I may quickly go to the man of God and come back again. And he said, why will you go him today? It's neither a new moon nor a Sabbath. And she said, all is well. And she saddled the donkey, and she said to her servant, urge the animal on. Do not slacken the pace for me unless I tell you. And so she set out and came to the man of God at Mount Carmel.
Okay. Fascinating.
Okay, so
I know. Tell me the Hebrew.
The translation is playing with you a little bit. So there's no O, my head. It just says my head. It just says my head. You added the O.
Well, because sometimes in Hebrew you emphasize something by saying it twice, right?
Yeah,
so
but they're adding the interjection.
Yes.
To carry this interesting thing, the way they're carrying this child is very sweet. I don't know if you get that. There is this, right? Why does she bring him up to that room is kind of funky. And then she doesn't say all is well. She says shalom. But shalom can take a lot of different connotations. And here I would say it's taking the connotation of like, be quiet. Not like all is well, but like, like chill, or not chill. It's the wrong word, but like, it's going to become a key word in the rest of the story. So we should really talk about they're going to say shalom when things are not good. And this is tied into shalom, say shalom to the one who is far and to the one who is near, is super tied to this. Like that's a verse from Psalms, but
yes, Luke is interpreting this as chillax.
Yeah, my kid's dead. Chillax. I know.
Well, also, her lack of response, though, she does not tell her husband.
I can't imagine, right? She's saying like, do this all fast. I mean, I don't know. She doesn't say fast. Oh no, she does say.
The husband says, "What's going on?" And he says, one of the possible it's either shut up or don't worry about it or like goodbye, like all these things.
Yeah. Yeah, it could just mean goodbye. Yeah, like I'm heading out. And it is interesting. I don't know if it matters, but it's a female donkey. It's a female donkey. She's like preparing it, like so. There is this kind of image I get of like when Abraham sets out in the morning with his donkey, or Bilam with his donkey, right? Where you have this this preparation. But here the running makes it different. The running is unique. Yeah.
Can you explain what this business with new moon or Sabbath? Why would be a good reason to go and see the man?
So if you remember in the story of Shmuel, Elkanah and his family go up when it's a holiday. And we have also in another story, it's also in Judges, that generally when people would go to the prophets, I think in Saul, I think it's in the Saul story when he's looking for the female donkeys. They also talk about, I want to go up to the prophet and ask him a question, to Samuel. That's also like, but it's not the right time of year for that. And then we have the new moon feast with David in the palace. It's very clear that like these were times when people would gather together, but especially go to the prophets to kind of either be taught Torah or to learn or just to something, learn what their prophecies are with them. But that seems to be what the regular scheduled programming was. And in fact, way deep into Jewish history, like for the next 1,500 years or so, they learned from this, because not only do people go to synagogues on the Sabbath, but specifically, like if you look in the Babylonian Talmud, there's an entire thing about like this is when you're supposed to go to your rabbi and hang out with them for the day, is on the Sabbath, or is on new moons in the Sabbath, and like this becomes a very kind of like standard part of Jewish calendrical, I don't know, what do you want to call it?
Okay, I understand that it is a practice in Judaism that in the new moon, especially on the Shabbat, you go and you see your rabbi or your local prophet and you make a small holiday of that. This is usually what men do. I have never heard in Judaism of a woman going for the rabbi for a tish.
Well,
and this is not, and for this woman, it is not unusual because
it wasn't unusual early. Chana goes also in the first. Chana goes to Shmuel.
Chana goes to Shmuel, to Eli, or maybe.
No, not Shmuel. Sorry, to Eli. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, but that's going to visit.
That's how you get a Shmuel.
No, but she goes on Chag. They go on Chag as a family together.
Yeah, they go as a family together on a holiday.
Mm-hmm.
But a woman going to the rabbi for Tish on a Saturday, and
Tish
for
is Tish is just a bad example because the Hasidim are even more gender segregated than traditional Judaism was. The Hasidim just can't see the model in their head.
Okay, I accept it, but for this woman, it was not at all unusual because the husband was used for her going routinely.
Mm-hmm.
So not only she was making a room accommodation for the prophet at her place, she used to on a regular basis and go and seek the local prophet or whatever arrangement was where on a Sabbath or a new moon.
Mm-hmm.
Which means that when we said Isha Gdola, a big woman, is not only aristocratic, but also into religion, let's say, not one of the common folks. And I don't know to what degree the husband was approving of that, because you see that how cold the relationship between them. When he says to the boy, "Go and see your mother," he doesn't really accept the boy. He's not very warm towards the boy.
It's a very strange.
And he doesn't come back home and say, "Well, is he feeling well?" There's quite a chill wind blowing from this marriage. Okay, go on.
Yeah, maybe. I don't. When I read, I don't know that I read the chill wind as strongly because it doesn't. Right, he doesn't tell the boy to go away. Right, to go to his mom. He says carry him to his mother. So I think the boy's already maybe somewhat out of it. I mean, I assume he's had some sort of epileptic fit or some sort of stroke, like something's going on in his head, right? But like,
which is a better reason to go and come back home in the evening and ask what happened.
Yes, it's weird that he's not in the scene. I agree. There's something weird there, but I don't read it quite as.
It's not weird. I can really imagine the relationship because I have seen it in real life.
Also in the All Is Well note, just for the Christians, this passage inspired the song "It Is Well With My Soul." Unless I'm mistaken, comes from the use of this text,
which is really ironic.
Yeah,
because all is not well. It's clearly a lie.
That's part of the writing of that.
Okay.
That as well.
Yeah.
It's-
Okay.
Oh, there's another translation. In
Yeah.
modern, if I translate it to modern English, she just says bye.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hello,
I gave that
bye.
as one of the possible translations. Yeah. Okay, bye.
Where are you going? Bye.
But it's going to come back in verse 26 and not mean bye. So
Yeah.
it's interplayed. It's interplayed. It's
Yeah, the person.
I don't know Christian music, Luke. I don't know Christian music.
Yeah. The guy who wrote it, it was after their child had died. Yeah. It's not well, but faith makes being unwell well. So profound. Okay, let's continue. I can't get into Mount Carmel. Can't get into it. But Mount Carmel, it's a thing. Okay, Kirk. I think it's Kirk's turn to read.
I think so too.
Take your time, Kirk. This is dramatic bits, okay?
When the man of God saw her coming, he said to Gehazi, his servant, "Look, there is a Shumanite, Shunammite, but at once to meet her and say to her, Is all well with you? Is all well with your husband? Is all well with the child?" And she answered, "All is well." And when she came to the mountain,
Okay,
man of
pause. That's already so good. The threefold, is everything okay with you? Everything's okay with your husband? Everything's okay with the child? Right? Like
Well,
that's
that's the Genesis 22, your son, your only son, whom you love.
Right. The building, the threefold, who is this about? Yeah. And that her answer is, it's fine. Okay. Continue from verse 27. Does anyone have anything else they want to throw into that?
He's up on top of the mountain. We've had this, the prophet on top of the mountain. We don't have to talk about Carmel, but we've had this image already with Eliyahu. Yeah. We also had it with Eli, though. And this brings us back to Eli, right? Because Eli, when he sees the people coming to tell them that they've lost the ark in the battle, and he falls back and he falls off his chair and dies, right? And he hits his head, right? He's seeing them from the top of the mountain, and he's seeing and he sees from their movement that something is wrong, right? And this is not mind reading, but the prophet has emotional intelligence and can read body language, and there's something's up, in a way that maybe the next person next to him can't. Yeah,
Eli is blind at the time. He overhears it. Oh, but you're talking about here.
There he overhears it. Yeah. We also have this interesting thing where she, in the beginning of this story, she tekazekbo. She tries to grab him to feed him bread, and here she's trying to grab him at his feet. And we have this kind of this repeating little refrain of she keeps trying to grasp what she can't grasp in some sense.
There is a strange push and pull about faith in this story, because she seems to go directly to the prophet, wants to tell him face to face, but there's also this not even asking the thing. It's there's a strangeness, and I kind of see that in her not telling her husband as well.
Yeah, there's also this attempt at Gehazi to stop her is very similar to Joshua trying to stop the two prophets in the camp in Numbers, where he's lock them up. They can't be prophesying. They didn't come to the meeting, and Moses tells them to stop. And I wish everyone was like this. So it's very similar to that, where he's chillax, to use
Yes, chillax. Okay, Luke, you got what you wanted. Yosef used chillax in a sentence. So that follows later, the eating something that you find in the field that makes you sick. Okay. Okay, let's go from 27, shall we? Kirk, okay. Continue reading.
And when she came to the mountain to the man of God, she caught hold of his feet. And Gehazi came to push her away. But the man of God said, Leave her alone, for she is in bitter distress, and the Lord has hidden it from me, and has not told me. Then she said, Did I ask my Lord for a son? Did I not say, Do not deceive me? He said to Gehazi, Tie up your garment, and take my staff in your hand, and go. If you meet anyone, do not greet him, and if anyone greets you, do not reply, and lay my staff on the face of the child. Then the mother of the child said, As the Lord lives, as you yourself live, I will not leave you. So he arose and followed her.
That sounds.
Gehazi,
Oh man. Okay. Yeah. Let's pause a second there. There's
So-
so much in that little bit.
So not to greet people is to not say shalom, though greet is really to bless in the Hebrew.
Yeah.
So here we have like, don't do this whole shalom nonsense.
Let's not waste any more shalom.
Yeah, and then
the I won't
Yeah.
leave you, as the Lord lives, I won't leave you, is what is said by Elisha, saying to Eliyahu, I won't leave you until he's taken up.
he doesn't quite say I won't leave you, but it's sort of the gist. It's by the life of God and by the life of my soul, if I will leave you, which
Yeah.
basically means I swear not to leave you, but it doesn't quite say it.
Yeah. I do think there's a bit of Judas in Gehazi. Gehazi kept trying to push her away and them saying, leave her alone, she's in bitter distress. I love this idea that it's hidden from the prophet. It's just
which is also a Chana Eli reference, right? Where she's bitter and he can't see it, but at least here Elisha understands that he's not getting something, where Eli at first didn't get that.
I think, okay, Dawn is asking, why is it so hard to get Elisha moving? Why would he send his servant to do the job? I think
I think he's starting to learn from his mentor. He needs to be a little bit more mysterious, create some layers between himself and the common people.
I think
Like play hard to get.
He started to move. It just Gehazi was faster.
Yeah, he sent the younger guy who moves faster. The quick kid's gonna move faster than the master.
Yeah, I get the image that Elisha is supposed to be old at this point.
Or minimally older than Gehazi.
Yeah. Okay, so Gehazi's gone before. Just finish the paragraph for us, Kirk.
Gehazi went on ahead and laid the staff on the face of the child, but there was no sound or sign of life. Therefore he returned to meet him and told him, The child has not awakened.
Okay, great. I like the use of the laying the staff on the child. We'll see that being used in a second. And how it's how the staff stands for the man to some extent.
Yeah, but it's also a smooth surface that you could see breath vapor on.
Yeah.
Like from a materialist point of view.
What if instead of breath it was a sneeze?
Mask up.
Okay.
They use the staff so they can keep social distancing.
Exactly. It's 6 feet. 6 feet.
Yeah. That's how big the staff is. Good. Matt, can you read all the text that's on screen right now? This is a good culmination of this section.
When Elisha came into the house, he saw the child lying dead on his bed. So he went in and shut the door behind the two of them and prayed to Hashem. Then he went up and lay on the child, putting his mouth on his mouth, his eyes on his eyes, and his hands on his hands. And as he stretched himself upon him, the flesh of the child became warm. Then he got up again and walked once back and forth in the house, and went up and stretched himself upon him. And the child sneezed 7 times, and the child opened his eyes. Then he summoned Gehazi and said, Call the Shunammite. So he called her, and when she came to him, he said, Pick up your son. And she came and fell at his feet, bowing to the ground. Then she picked up her son and went out.
So interesting. I love that he does it first and it doesn't work. and then he does it again. They like the lying on him face to face, right? It doesn't give an image of like it's impossible not to see CPR, but it doesn't say he's breathing into him.
No,
Not to say he
mouth to
can't
mouth.
be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's clearly putting pressure on his chest and giving him mouth to mouth. That's not the way that we would do it.
Well, what's the eye to eye bit though?
Yeah, because it's weird. His face is like actually facing him.
I can't with this being CPR though, because like I've been trained in CPR multiple times. I was a Boy Scout. I did all that stuff. And when you're talking CPR, we're talking about reviving someone. You're talking about every minute you are losing percentages of the chances of this person being revived. This woman lays the kid down dead, runs to get him, and then walks back. Like Gehazi runs first, but then they're walking back. Like I know, Yosef, you're not going for a naturalistic explanation. It's just, to me, the connection with CPR has to be incredibly minor because
or he invents CPR and they don't know it, so like they wouldn't know that every minute counts.
No, even if he is doing CPR, the amount of time that is elapsed, this child is brain dead. That's what it.
Yeah, no, it's a miracle. Clearly, it's a miracle. It's not really CPR, but I mean, you do take breaks between rounds of compressions. Like, it's not totally like crazy. It is hard not to think about it as someone who's also in CPR. I get it.
And can you please tell me about the translation of the word sneezed?
It's not sneezed. Forget it. It's not sneezed. He's a rare.
Because I have the image of what we've all seen, which is after someone gets CPR and then they cough up the water. You know, they go.
So
there's no water here. But...
So what is Zorer? How do you translate it?
I mean, it's a hepax legama. It's the only time it's ever used. The Septuagint cuts the word out completely. The Peshitta, which is the Syriac translation, says it like is basically like to gasp, which makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, 7 times.
And the exact phrasing, up to 7 times.
Yeah.
It's more like somebody was writing a recipe than somebody describing it.
I love it. We got a resurrection recipe.
There is another way. There's another way to read it, which is that izorer is actually a verb that Eliyahu is doing to the Na'ar. Not that something that the kid does, but something that Elisha does. There is an argument. It's not. I don't think it's a great one linguistically, but there is a parallel, I think, in Arabic that it might mean to compress. So here it'd actually be do 7 compressions, which then, of course, people like because that's really CPR.
Well, and even still, I wouldn't give that, like, again, it still gives it a miracle because it would be reenacting creation.
No, I'm reading. ויזורר הנער עד 7 פעמים, ויפקח הנער את עיניו. If the second הנער is active from the boy, then the first הנער is active from the boy.
That would make sense. As I said, it's a stretch. There's also this weird vayighar, which they translate as stretch, but like, it is a bit weird. For bend over is probably closer. Like he's bending over the boy as opposed to stretching out the boy.
Yeah. It's a different image. You got to heat him up though first. He's cold.
It's also weird because he does the same thing that the dad does, right? He says, like, he doesn't pick up the boy. He doesn't give him any comfort or physical beyond, like, he did all this physical stuff to him, but then it's like, okay, pick up. It's using the same verb too, like carry your boy, out, you know.
Carry him to the mom.
Her boy, yeah. like he says, carry your boy, and she carries the boy. And it's the same exact phrase again. So it does make him sound a lot like the dad, in the chill way that we didn't like.
In the chillaxing version.
Yes, not.
Guys, I really can't do past 2:30, so we gotta get to this ending. Kirk, will you read us this last section? This last section to me is a little bit silly, but I do think it all connects. We've bookended with food miracles.
And Elisha came again to Gilgal when there was a famine in the land. And as the sons of the prophets were sitting before him, he said to his servant, set on the large pot and boil stew for the sons of the prophets. One of them went out in the field to gather herbs and found a wild vine gathered from it, his lap full of wild gourds, and came and cut them up into the pot of stew, not knowing what they were. And they poured out some for the men to eat. But while they were eating of the stew, they cried out, O man of God, there is death in the pot, and they could not eat it. He said, then bring flour. And he threw it into the pot and said, pour some out for the men, that they may eat. And there was no harm in the pot.
I don't know if this is an expression. I do say, if food is bad, oh God, there's death in the pot. That is a great way of saying that the food is bad. But you get a notion of, because you have things like mandrakes and things like that it might be related to, like that it's poisonous. People all above are talking about, is the child poisoned? What are we talking, like, what are the possibilities? Yeah, but this just sounds like the water miracle again, where he sprinkles some salt, and this time it's a little bit of flour. Just the use of props I also find interesting.
Props are common through all of Hebrew prophecy. It's a very important thing. Right? God always tells prophets to get some props.
Yeah, more like prop is see. That's terrible. That's a bad pun. It's terrible.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff happening here, right? There's a lot of it's the children of the prophets again. We can talk about why they're in Gilgal. They're cooking this nazid, which is the same thing that Jacob is cooking when Esau comes in from his field, and they do the trade over the birthright, which might be relevant actually, right? The Elisha and the birthright over the other prophets. There's death in the pot actually would also be connected to that, of rejecting the birthright and saying, I'm going to die if I don't eat.
Right.
You have the flour in the pot, which reminds us of the woman in Sarafat, and the flour in the pots of the other miracle. So yeah, there's just, and then it's just like it's a weird little story that like packs in all of these other references. It doesn't really parallel any of the Eliyahu stories that I can think of, though. It is like one of these a little bit more unique to Elisha's stories.
Right. It's interesting though, because it does, however, parallel another Elisha story, like that there's two of these.
Yes, and now there is famine. We didn't have it before, but now there is a famine in the land.
That's why I wondered if there's an overarching, but we don't get a reference to it except in here.
Unless this is an earlier story, right? Yeah. Unless this story actually happens when the prophets are in hiding during the drought under Eliyahu, and Elisha is actually proving that he's the firstborn in the story and able to do this stuff. And this is the parallel story from the Eliyahu section, but it's been moved.
Yeah. Yeah, that in and of itself is very interesting.
No. This said, Elisha returned to the Gilgal. It's not the beginning of a story.
But a lot of the Eliyahu stories, they're coming and going in that sense. It doesn't.
Yeah, but it's not Elisha's origin story.
No,
because he's returning to the Gilgal.
Fair enough. It also does a really cool thing. The gathering of the herbs in Hebrew is laket orot. Orot is not really herbs. It's Yoav.
With
it's lights.
Yes.
Yep, an aleph. It's to gather the lights. It's this weird little thing happening where he's gathering illumination.
I know, but this is why I don't understand what he's doing at all. It was not gathering lights.
Well, okay. I don't know if I know enough about this because things like gourds, in some translations, is translated mandrakes, which has its own reasons for it.
This is definitely not the story. And the people who do mandrakes are connecting it to the story of Leah and Reuven, but it's not the same word at all. And there's no vine, and here there's very clearly a vine.
Okay.
Mandrakes don't grow on vines. Can't work.
Right. Okay. Okay. Good.
Was there a
Excellent.
well when the Israeli was in the desert? Was there a well, the name similar to a what?
Sorry, repeat?
A well in the desert when the Israeli was moving to the desert.
Is there a well called Takuot?
Orot.
Orot? No.
Something similar. Okay.
I have to look it up. But it's not one of the stops in the desert.
Well, I'm commenting to myself the Hebrew word Vayfalach, which correctly translates to sort of cut into pieces before throwing into the pot. But I have a feeling it was misunderstood in the 40s. And I think people understood that they sneaked it into the pot. Because that was the meaning that the word Falach would have in the 40s.
Interesting.
But I think it's a misunderstanding.
Okay.
There is a pretty strong theory that this food is a colocynth, because it grows on a vine in this region, but is also pakua means to burst open, and that's what happens when this shell basically is something that's small. It kind of looks like a watermelon, will snap or pop when it gets cut. It's this very anyway.
Is there a settlement called Be'er Ora?
Be'er Ora?
Is it poisonous? I'm sorry. Is it? Yeah. The possibility of poison.
It would make you sick. It's toxic. It's very bitter, toxic.
Yeah.
However, its leaves are edible. Yeah. Anyway.
Okay, let's finish off this. I don't even have anything to say about the end, but I just want to get to the end so that we had a clean break. Matt, will you finish us off, please?
Sure. So a man came from Baal Shalisha, bringing the man of God, bread of the first fruits, 20 loaves of barley, and fresh ears of grain in his sack. And Elisha said, "Give to the men that they may eat." But his servant said, "How can I set this before 100 men?" So he repeated, "Give them to the men that they may eat, for thus says Hashem, they shall eat and have some left." So he set it before them, and they ate and had some left, according to the word of Hashem.
Okay, again, feeding of the 5,000 clearly takes from this language.
So, by the way, one of the funky things about poisons from gourds, including colocynth, is that starches actually do trap the poison in them, and you do use them to prevent toxic poisoning from toxic gourds. So that's not just a miracle. That's actually just more hey, this is a scientific fact, which is pretty cool. The way that active charcoal is often used for poisoning now in emergency rooms. So before they had active charcoal, you could use starch molecules to do something very similar.
Just throw a handful of flour into it; it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Can I answer Yon Godin something or not?
Yeah. Go ahead.
He asked about the word Aryota for lioness. It's nothing with the Greek. Aryeh is a lion. Arayot is plural of a lion. Aryota is plural of a lion in Aramaic. There's nothing Greek in it.
Thank you. Also, this reference that they're bringing the first fruits would also tie with this season associated with Ruth. You were talking about the language of Ruth earlier.
Yeah. So this is the bride's.
Yeah,
This is the
and
bread
it's,
made out of the harvest. Yeah.
and of barley, the barley loaves, right? That
Yeah. So this is probably Shavuot.
yeah, yeah.
But weirdly, like so there's also no more wordplay here because the word for fresh ears of grain is Carmel, which is Carmel, right? So like
Yeah.
it's where Carmel gets its name from. So you do have a little bit of play
Right.
to our other stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for some reason, right? It says there Baal Shlisha, which is like the master of three. We don't know what that is. What's that's a reference to? Like it's why is this place called that? I don't think we ever hear about it again. And then he has to feed 100 people, which is like 2 groups of 50, right? So there's some other funky things going on here. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the story is also like the center of the potential chiasm, because you have like on the outer bracket 2 stories that deal with sons of the prophets, followed up by 2 extended stories featuring Gehazi, and then this one is sort of like the center of all of that structure.
And the food miracles too, right? That they're food miracles, sons of the prophets.
Well, I think the last one is the floating axe head, which isn't quite a food miracle.
I'm not sure because the chapters are later editions, and we're going to have more stories in Elisha that seem to tie into these same themes and reflect each other. So the next story of Naaman seems very related to the story of the great woman and her son. So like I feel like there is a chiasm here, but I think it's a lot bigger. And we're gonna have the sons of the prophets again in the beginning of chapter 6. So like I feel like the Elisha cycle and with the Elijah cycle are like in chiastic structures, but I think they're a lot bigger.
But I think it does keep you staying, because after the floating axe head, you have like you go back to international politics, right, with the famine in the city and the lepers, right?
Well, so we have the personal story of Naaman first, and then we have
right, yeah. From Navan, then afterwards you got the floating axe head, and that's another large story that's kind of equivalent in kind of like scope to what we did last week with chapter 3.
The story of the famine in the city with the 3 lepers, to me, is like that's like my favorite side story. Like,
yeah,
it's one episode and it's incredible.
It's another good Haftorah. In fact, all these are basically Haftorah portions. We really like the Elisha stories. He gets a lot of play.
He gets a lot of that's good. That's good. Okay, guys, I got to get back to work.
Okay.
I've already started actually in the background. Kirk, do you have it? Go ahead.
I just wanted to notify Yosef I have a question for him in Discord, but that's all.
Got it.
You will, Yosef, look to be bothered, okay?
It's easier to answer a Kirk question than a Grizz one. If Grizz wants to do that, it's something we can.
That's the clip. He said he wanted clips from this one. That's the clip right there. It is easier. Yeah. Yeah, good point. Does anyone have any closing words?
I was on Nick Free Willin's channel last night. We were talking about Philemon for about 3 hours. That was a good time.
Nice.
Yeah.
Big fan.
Well, I just also with Purim coming up, I wanted to know if you can do anything special for Purim, David.
I'm perhaps eat a few Haman's ears. I don't do anything really for Purim. I listen to the Esther story. Get through that scroll. That's about all I do. I don't take time off. I don't fast for 3 days. Oh Lord, what is he doing?
I don't fast for 3 days either.
You know what?
You just fast for 1 day.
We're what is wrong with all of us?
נכנס אתה מרבים בשמחה.
Oh, right. Wait, for Purim, you have a mask of yourself? So strange.
You can do whatever you want. There's no rules. There's no rules about the costumes. The costumes are.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is that that was the first day was it last year? It was the first day we had with Purim, because I was like, what is happening? It was like a meta event because Yoav came on with
Yeah,
the
I remember.
glasses. Yanni, there was a weird thing that happened with Yanni, and Matt showed up for the first time, and I was like, what is happening? Because he, at first glance, is the silliest person. I was like, with the beard and the balloons, I'm like, what
He's
bizarre
perfect.
clowning is happening? Oh, and the only section of scripture that is quoted in Esther is was taken from the section of Samuel that we were covering. It had there was a weird interplay. You were there. I'll try to find it. Guys, thank you so much. I'm calling it. Love you guys. Thank you. Goodbye.